Welcome to the final days. Today is August 1st, 2019. Today we will be viewing strange celestial objects in our sky, not mentioned by mainstream media. All of the things you are about to see here are signs that we are living in the very last days according to the Holy Bible. Later in this video, I'll explain why this is good news and cause for celebration. Some of the images we will be viewing were obtained over the past several days from the Alaskan and Canadian FAA weather cameras. Viewers have my full permission to use any part of my videos without worrying about copyrights. Let's put the truth out where everyone can find it. First, I'd like to show everyone what's been going on in Alaska and Canada recently, over the past few weeks. This cloud cover map that you're seeing is from venturesky.com, and in these photos the white area is cloud cover, and as you can see, Alaska is nearly completely covered with clouds. Now this is not related to the smoke at all. This is only cloud cover. It does not involve the smoke, which I know the Arctic's on fire right now. The satellite imagery that produces these images shows only the clouds, not smoke. By the way, it's interesting to know that Reverend Allen's vision of the end of America started with black smoke rising up out of Alaska. Anyone can read about his end-time vision by searching the internet for 1954 Allen prophecy. Reverend Allen was an evangelist in the mid-1900s, and he also had the God-given gifts of healing and prophecy. Reverend Allen was investigated by the FBI. The FBI's final report on this man stated that the healings were bona fide miracles. Alaska and Canada have been heavily saturated with atmospheric chemicals, even more so in recent weeks. An internet search on chemtrail analysis reveals that these chemicals contain reflective particles to prevent viewing of the sky. They also contain hygroscopic chemicals that force the accumulation of humidity and water vapor into cloud structures. These toxic chemicals are perhaps one reason why at least 1% of all the trees on Earth have died over the past 4 years. These chemicals also cause hypoxia in water, robbing oceans and lakes of oxygen in order for aquatic life to survive. Shark attacks have increased dramatically because their food sources have dwindled. The list of Earth changes caused by these toxic chemicals is too lengthy to cover in this video. You might ask, why hide this approaching planetary system? Because the enemies of Christ do not want you to know how close to the end we are. The enemies of Christ do not want you to turn your life over to Jesus before your time runs out. Information is at the end of this video telling you how to accept Christ into your life. This time-lapse video from the FAA weather camera located in Hearst, Ontario in Canada shows the sun as a six-pointed star. Anyone wishing to find out where the real sun is can watch either our last video or the March 23rd video. This footage shows off the speckle pattern camera filter that has been installed on this camera and many Canadian cameras to obscure the viewing of objects in the sky. This is a camera filter that can be purchased on Amazon.com. Pay close attention to the speckles in this video. Many of the speckles don't even move at all while the sun moves, while the glare moves, indicating that they are built right into the camera lens. What are they trying to hide? They are trying to hide things like this. These images from Yukon River Bridge, Alaska, are just one example of the celestial bodies now populating our entire solar system. This inbound planetary system is gravitationally pulling up on Earth's tectonic plates, causing a 500% increase in earthquakes over the past few years. and sometimes it's even more than that. This is an old figure, actually. It's causing mind-blowing amounts of magma to flow toward our west coast and accumulate underground, causing a very dangerous and a widespread condition, which is very hushed throughout all media. Except for some alternative media on YouTube, you will find this. And it's also causing ground uplift in many places on the western U.S. The ground has lifted as much as nearly a yard, nearly, I think, 32 inches in one place. The ground has just risen because of all the magma accumulating underneath it. Our jet stream has become fragmented, causing unusual and extreme weather conditions worldwide. Volcanic activity has increased dramatically worldwide, with numerous once dormant volcanoes now becoming active. The Gulf Stream has either slowed to a crawl or has stopped, giving European countries along the northern Atlantic the coldest winters in history. Sinkholes and cracks have been forming all around the world at unprecedented rates. Ocean shores have been receding for days at a time in various places, while gigantic waves pound the shores elsewhere. Mainstream media is forced into silence on most of these issues. Most people don't believe anything that they don't hear on mainstream TV news. Most people are oblivious, or they simply just don't want to know. Something funny about mainstream media. I think most people are now aware of the massive locust plague upon Las Vegas. It's going on right now. If you watch it on mainstream news, they only show a few scattered locusts, and they are extremely careful not to mention the word locust. And they even laugh about it. Instead, they're calling them grasshoppers, so that no one is reminded of the biblical locust plagues, which occurred in areas in deep sin throughout the biblical history. A locust is a swarming grasshopper. If you watch the Las Vegas locust plagues on YouTube, you'll see security camera footage of dead locusts several inches deep in some neighborhoods. The clouds of locusts in the air was so thick it blocked out the light and could easily be seen on satellite imagery from space. These next images were taken in Ohio using an old Samsung Galaxy S5 phone, which was perhaps the last smartphone capable of capturing a good amount of infrared. That's why you can see a magenta-colored orb next to the sun. This orb does not show up using regular cameras because it exists within the infrared color spectrum. This magenta-colored ball has been next to the sun for at least the past couple years that I've been watching the sky, probably longer. The magenta ball is actually at the 3 o'clock position to the sun, but I've rotated all these pictures 90 degrees to make them fit the screen better. So that's why the magenta ball is at the 12 o'clock position. It's right above the sun instead of the 3 o'clock position where it really is when you're looking at the sky. The lens flare is the yellow ball covered in white lights. This should raise a flag in most people's heads. The lens flare is a tiny reflection of what's causing the lens flare. Why is it covered in white lights? Who knows? Also, some of these images show a blurry, rainbow-colored contraption in the upper right corner, which is only visible with infrared. This machine is present in all photos of the sun taken with the Samsung Galaxy S5. When Jesus talks about the last days in Luke chapter 21, verse 25, he tells us that we will see signs in the sky. As Christians, we are commanded to watch for the signs of the end of the age, so that we're not ignorant of the very late hour in which we are living, and so that we can be spiritually prepared and help others to be prepared also. Notice how the sun rays fan out to form a pyramid shape. You never saw this 20 years ago. This cannot possibly happen with a light source, our sun, 93 million miles away. The light source has to be closer than 93 million miles, much, much closer. If we triangulate the light rays, we can get a rough idea of how close the light source is that's creating these rays. If we draw lines to engulf the light rays, the bottom two corners of this acute isosceles triangle are each 40 degrees. But we must take into consideration our own perspective of this triangle. We are standing near the bottom of that triangle, looking upward toward the top. This means that the bottom of the triangle appears disproportionately large. So if we narrow the bottom to accommodate for our distorted perspective, we find that the light source creating this exaggerated fan shape could be as close as 200 to 400 miles away. The elaborate lenses and mirrors that we've seen in many of these FAA images help to create the illusion that this relatively close manufactured light is far, far away. And look at this one. There's something in this photo that actually looks like frog skin if you look closely. It looks like it's actually covered in warts. You know, what is that? Most people have noticed the strange shadows near sunset time. This is facing west at sunset. In order for a cloud to contain the shadow of another cloud, the light source causing this has to be close. It's impossible for a very distant light source, such as our sun, to shine between two sets of clouds, causing a shadow upon one layer. Here are more examples of strange shadows in our sky. Now this one is also facing west at sunset, and this one is facing east at approximately the same time. The sun is currently setting in the west and we are looking east. All I did was take a picture that you just saw of the large square on the horizon. I turned around and faced east and I took this picture. One of the celestial objects that sets close to our sun is very red, causing purple skies that many are now seeing. This photo is facing south near sunset time. The sun is nowhere near this horizon. Because the sun is setting in the west, we are looking south. This is just another sign that we are living in the last days. In this video that I just took yesterday, watch the small yellow ball covered in lights. That's the lens flare. Notice how the pattern of lights on the lens flare constantly moves, as if the ball is rotating. As promised, I'll explain why this is all very good news and cause for celebration. Because in the Bible, Jesus promises in several places to remove his faithful followers from earth before God's wrath is unleashed upon the earth. This is commonly called the rapture, which will take place quickly and quietly just before God's wrath, which occurs during a 7-year period called the Great Tribulation. The New King James Version of Luke chapter 21 verse 36 reads, "Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that will come to pass." Jesus is referring to God's wrath. He is saying that those who are counted worthy will escape all God's wrath. The Bible repeatedly promises that faithful followers of Christ are not appointed to God's wrath. To be counted worthy, we must be living in holiness. A link in the description box below discusses what holiness is and how to achieve it. These next few screens will tell you how to accept Christ into your life. Simply pause the screen if you need more time to read the text.